and welcome to Infrastructure Matters number 45. I'm Krista Macomber, and I'm here with my wonderful co-hosts, Stephen Dickens and Camberley Bates. Good morning, Stephen and Camberley. I know you both have had a big week on the road. Stephen, I know you're out in Las Vegas, so we're recording quite early your time. And Camberley, I know you were wrapping up at an event and kind of attending a concert last night. So excited to kind of get into it this morning.
Here we are.
Here
Busy
we are.
Busy week.
Right.
I'm in San Diego, not in Las Vegas.
Oh, that's
only wimps do one tech conference in a week. You've got to do at least two to be hardcore in this company.
exactly. Exactly. And needing to fly, right? Because I know there was two events in Vegas that were down the street from each other. So that's too easy, right, Stephen? We got to make sure that we can fly.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't do what Daniel and Patrick did and just walk down the street to the second event. I had to jump on a plane. I did get to have breakfast with my bestie, though.
Oh.
We had breakfast on Wednesday.
All righty, but I landed at 4:30. My husband picked me up, and we went to the Rolling Stones concert last night. So there you go.
I got to see Dead and Company in the Sphere, so we've had an action-packed week.
Yeah, there you go.
So why don't we get into it? So Stephen, why don't we kick it off with you? I know earlier this week for your first event, you were at HPE Discover. So why don't you talk to us a little bit? I know you said it was the best keynote you've ever been to, quite an exciting venue, and certainly some big announcements coming out of the show. So why don't we kick it off there?
Well, let's kick off with talking about the keynote. So HPE became the first tech vendor to have their keynote in the Sphere. I'd not been to the Sphere before. Fantastic facility. Jim Jackson and the team, Antonio told us the story of kind of how they at last toured the facility while it was being built and it instantly committed. I think we're going to be there at least 10 times next year because every CEO and every CMO of every big tech company who has their conference in Vegas is going to have seen that, want to be on that stage. So kudos to Jim Jackson and the HPE events team, first off, for just the hosting of the event. And then, I mean, Antonio's not the razzmatazz, Antonio Neri, that is the CEO. He's not a razzmatazz kind of big stage speaker, but he did an excellent job of positioning HPE and why they're relevant in the AI space. The big announcement, and he had Jensen and his leather jacket join the stage. That leather jacket's got more air miles than I think kind of Taylor Swift this year. But seriously, really impactful conversation about where HPE with its private cloud AI and its really opinionated and curated deployment of AI infrastructure, they've really got this down to t-shirt sizing now, small, medium, large, extra large, back to talking about hardware, really tight integration with Nvidia. And even so much so that in the one to sort of analyst session with Antonio, I asked him the question, you've rotated here to Nvidia, what about Intel and AMD? And he was very specific and very direct in his answer to me, which was, it's not about the silicon, it's the software. CUDA is where the development community and this community is going to be with regards to AI. And that's why they're partnering. So really tight integration with NVIDIA. There was other announcement, OpsRamp, Compute Ops Management, some announcements there from Justin McGarry and his team that we'd worked on. So great to see those kind of on the show floor and coming to market. But I think the private cloud AI announcement kind of overshadowed the entire show. And I think as we get to the deployment phase of AI, and we're now starting to get to scale, really interesting to see where HPE is going to play in all of that.
Well, and especially, I love the concept of the t-shirt sizing. And I think that's going to be very useful because I think organizations have really been trying to figure out not only how are they going to be using AI in terms of the business use cases, but also really what do they need, right, in terms of the infrastructure, the software to really be able to build out and support kind of, their particular implementation. So if HPE has at least been able to sort of, like you mentioned, Stephen, create some of these, pre-packaged, at least as a starting point, I could see that being very useful.
Yeah, I think a lot of enterprise architects know they need to do AI. A lot of infrastructure teams know they're going to be implementing an AI project. But I genuinely believe that maybe you're at Citibank, maybe you're at Wells Fargo, maybe you're at Walmart, and you've got a team that can get your head around all of this and build your own and roll your own stack. But I'd position maybe even as much as 95% of the clients are, I know I've got to do it. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to architect it. This is a new workload. I need help. And HP stepped in there not just with help and a consulting engagement like a lot of others. They've stepped in and said, we've done this. We've done the work of the enterprise architect. This is what you need. I think that's really powerful for customers.
Absolutely. And so I know I was not at the show, but I did get a chance to connect with a journalist friend over at Tech Target. He actually sat in at HPE Discover on a presentation that Zerto made. And
Mm-hmm.
I'd be really interested to get your perspective on this, Stephen, because it tied into, so obviously, the Gen AI stuff we just talked about obviously is a big focus area for the market as a whole, right? Another thing that we've seen that I imagine HPE is navigating as well is the, acquisition of VMware by Broadcom and sort of, how customers are reevaluating the placement of their current workloads. Are they going to stay on a VMware virtualized environment? Are they going to migrate off of that? As they consider new workloads, is this going to kind of the pricing model? Is that going to cause them to reconsider where they're deploying new workloads? And Zerto had a session regarding they now support KVM, and really, from my perspective, kind of the big takeaway is that they're looking to kind of help customers if they want to migrate from VMware, to a different hypervisor, to a different type of infrastructure entirely, or if they want to sort of even test out what it would look like to kind of, either migrate or deploy, kind of a workload on a different environment. Zerto is kind of stepping the table and saying we have, the data migration capabilities to support that. It's something that I also heard a couple of weeks ago when I was at the VMon conference as well. So it's something that it sounds like at HPE Discover, it wasn't necessarily a huge emphasis. And similarly for VMon, it wasn't the central, point of the show by any means, but they kind of are making sure to make the point and making sure to sort of be present with customers and sort of say, we can help you here. So I'd be curious
Yeah,
in your perspective on that, Stephen, if you heard anything else kind of around that area at the show as well.
yeah. So Keith Townsend, one of our colleagues, is writing a research note on what HPE launched their HPE virtualization, and that's a packaged and curated KVM. Um, I'm kind of conflicted here because yes, hypervisors is part of the VMware stack, the classic sort of ESX, and this will be a comparison to that. But the VMware stack is so much more than just a hypervisor these days. It's become an entire sort of deployment architecture with all the surrounding tooling for networking and storage and management. And so I understand why HP's done what it's done. But I mean, enterprises have had the option to go and get KVM from somebody, download it. There's providers out there that'll give you a support contract for open source. So, yes, I see it. Yes, I can see in the sort of SMB space, maybe they get some people to pick this up. Maybe if you're completely invested in the GreenLake stack and you're a single sole supplier and you've not got any VMware on the public cloud, and it's just purely an on-premises stack with KVM, and you want to consume that from HPE and get that all supported. They've done the tooling into Ops Ramp, they've done the tooling into Compute Ops Management. So yes, there is some value add there from HPE rather than just a sort of KVM. I don't see that as a competitor, though, to a complete VMware stack at enterprise scale, for sure.
Right. And so we had some of those discussions at Pure Accelerate as well, their conference that I was at. And that was around about, and similar to what HPE is saying, is like, okay, so we'll support you wherever you're going, and making sure that they're communicating to them to say, if you're going to stay on VMware, we're here. If you're going to migrate to a new platform, we're here. If you're going to do, which I think a lot of folks are doing, if you're going to go to the containers, Kubernetes space, we're here. If you need to support multiple environments, we're here. And then you're right, the HPE took it another step to say we're going to have our own distribution out here that will support you with KVM. So, but I think the bigger thing for the enterprise IT organizations is not, yes, feature function kind of thing, which KVM is not quite all there, but it's the bigger part of that migration is going to be processes, procedures, and skills, which is a huge investment in terms of all that operational stuff that you're talking about. And if HPE is investing in those operational kind of capabilities of helping them migrate that space, that's a big deal. That would be a big deal.
Well, the one for me, and I asked the question, and I don't think I got a solid answer, is I don't think many of the large enterprises are complete wall-to-wall HPE. They're going to be HPE, they're going to be Dell, they're going to be Lenovo, they're going to have somebody else in there, then they're going to have some stuff on maybe Azure, and they're going to have some stuff on GCP or AWS. I think what VMware's done over the years is become that multi-cloud, multi-platform layer for virtualization and tooling and management, network and storage. I genuinely, I see challenges once you get into a multi-cloud, multi-vendor space with a hardware vendor's version of KVM. I mean, I didn't mention it because it wasn't a big play for HPE. I think it kind of came out as a sort of position against where they are and what's going on in the market. But I think where I was really impressed with HPE was this private cloud AI deployment space. I'm kind of on the fence, if you will, on where they are on the virtualization piece.
That's fair. And so, Camberley, you mentioned Pure Accelerate. So that's probably a great transition. So what else did you see and hear this week while you were there?
Well, there was quite a bit. Actually, it was the Pure Accelerate, Pure Storage Conference was like literally a mile. And I don't think it was a mile down the road from where HPE was at the, we were at the Las Vegas resort. It's a Hilton property. Really nice event. It was good to catch up with the folks there because it's been a couple of years since I'd been at the conference with them. Charlie Giancarlo kicked it off. Well, actually, Lynn Lucas, their new CMO, kicked it off. And the one kind of cute item that was going on is that the stage that we were on in the keynote had this turntable kind of thing that would turn around. So they would start the music and the turntable would turn around and the person would be riding on the turntable to show up in the front. Well, as you all know, Pure Storage is all about solid state and getting rid of disk drives.
Getting rid of spinning disk, and then put the CEO on a spinning disk. Oh, that's funny.
This is the last disk he's going to be on. Something like that. So, but
did he mention that on the stage, or is that you?
Oh yeah, there was an ongoing kind of joke about it, but at the same time, this kind of thing going on. So it was kind of gave a little bit of humor to it. But he did, after and I also appreciated this because it was on Juneteenth that we were, and Lynn did kick it off with a tribute to our African American friends and the community, et cetera, before even going into it. So it's just it's a nice statement about who they are and what they represent.
HPE
So
did the same, actually. They did a session with us
good.
analysts. They had a really fantastic female photographer who'd been out, and she'd captured pictures of sort of slavery around the world, and she really compelling conversation. It was respectful of Juneteenth. So yeah, worth mentioning that also as well, just to give props to HPE.
Yeah. So we had there was about I think they didn't give an official number, but there was probably about 3,000 people there, which is a good size crowd. 1,000 customers, probably the rest are, a lot of partners that are there because they're a 100% channel partner company. Just they're also, one of the other things that they're very, very proud of is their NPS score. And their NPS score, I believe, is 82. It's very, very high. This just, is kind of up front and center, considered one of the high, I think it's maybe the highest around. Anyway, so the big themes there, no surprise here: AI, cybersecurity, application modernization, hybrid cloud, and managing hybrid cloud optimization. And there was no really huge, massive announcements. A lot of additional great additions to their portfolio, kind of focused in on this concept that we got to get out of this completely siloed area. We've got to get away from completely manual operations, which we're still in. The complexity, kind of the disruptive upgrades, which they've always been very, very focused on, and talking about having a united, storage network, and similar to what we've heard from some other people. This is this platform kind of concept where I can manage cloud, I can manage on-prem. I have a single layer, whether it's Fusion and Purity, which is the name of their products, their software products that are above it, that I can manage the operationals. I can decide, I can have similar processes that go across the different protocols or the different placement of where the storage is, and streamline and operate, as he said, operate as a fleet. And so they've continued to build on top of that. They were, the first doing what they call the evergreen, the non-disruptive upgrade to operations. And then, they added the Purity many years later, or not many years later, which is the operating system for the unified space. And they've added Fusion to be global policy management and be able to plan and manage the fleet. So you've got this network of cloud storage offerings that are there. In terms of a couple of announcements that I'll kind of touch on that they had. I'm going to look at my notes here really quick so I don't forget stuff. They, as other people, they've announced their Nvidia SuperPod certification that's going to be here in the second half of 2024. Really important. They did do what I considered a pretty significant statement for Portworx, and it may sound pretty small, but it's not. They've got more integration now with the Purity software, which is going to be bringing more also security management and multi-tenancy. And whenever you get into Kubernetes, especially since they are pretty strong in MSPs or cloud service providers, having multi-tenancy capability is really, really super important. So that's what they're bringing to that, to ease that. And on the cyber resiliency, they announced they have this security assessment, and they're announcing some new security assessment recommendations where, they're going to go in and that the system will assess where you are, give you some grades. They show to the screen about here is where to go. Okay, click here. Here's what you want to do, or here's what the recommended areas are. So there's a whole lot of additional support that they're providing you for cybersecurity, not just hardening the environment, but also providing you the cybersecurity area.
So Camberley, is that, for example, looking at the Pure Storage environment and how it's configured? Okay.
All of that, yes.
Okay.
Are you do you have your do you have your snapshots or your, all your availability kind of capabilities kicked in, et cetera, those kind of items. Um, so that was really, really, it's really good to see. Another item, I had an opportunity to sit down with their the cloud block storage people and talk about that. Cloud block storage is what sits on Azure and AWS in their cloud environment. And one of the things, and this gets into, you're talking about FinOps here, or we're going to talk about that in a second, is the standard block storage that you get from Azure or AWS does not have all the data efficiencies or the data reduction capabilities. They don't usually have decent snapshotting kind of stuff. So it gets very bloated and very big and very expensive. And what they are finding quite a bit of success with is customers with Azure and working with Azure with customers that are needing to get more efficiency of their data storage up there, because it's one of the things that's causing problems with people staying in the cloud is the cost of that storage. So if they can help out with not only, streamline the cost of the storage, as well as having, that on-prem with that unified kind of capability that they bring to the market, it's a nice, very, very nice value proposition that they bring to the market. So, and the last really cool thing I will mention is that they started making their own flash drive environments. So they have their customized hardware now. And Kaz was up there. Last year, he was up there with a 3D printed 150 terabyte drive. And so he was 150 terabyte. That was 3D last year. So this year he came up with the real drive. And he said, this is the real one. And then he pulls out and he goes, and this is the 300 3D printed drive. 300 terabyte. So, I mean, what they're looking at is how, they are driving, capacity, understand that very, very strategically have invested in the hardware development. And I think we should give them a significant competitive advantage over the long haul. They've got the software to manage to the QLC. They've got the software to manage to all the things that you have to do when you've got these very large capacity drives. And so it should be, over time, it should be a significantly competitive advantage.
I remember when 300 terabytes used to be kind of 2 racks worth of spinning disk.
And now it was
I'm aging myself now. But seriously, though, I mean, that's 20 years ago. That's only 20 years ago that 300 terabytes was a big storage array, and it was kind of a couple of racks worth of space.
Yeah. And there's other announcements, like, they showed us their beta for the AI Copilot for storage, which is, we're seeing a lot of folks doing this, and they'll probably roll it out as a GA at the end of the year or the beginning of next year once they get all of the hallucinations out. So, which everybody has to do, right? You got to wait till you make sure that you're not telling somebody to do something that's not right. But so they had, there's a bunch of those kind of announcements that are out that just kept on, builds on the strength of the offerings that they bring to market.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, Camberley. And one more event to cover here. So, Stephen, why don't you take us home with FinOps X, which you're there, as you mentioned, you're in San Diego right now at the conference. So
it's been nice to be able to be outside after being in Vegas the early part of the week.
Yes.
So yeah, FinOps X, that's a Linux Foundation collaborative project, the FinOps community. And this is their community event. So this isn't a vendor event. I was chatting to Jevon Jensen from IDC last night. He tracks this space for those guys. And he's counted and tracking 80 different vendors that are in this space.
Wow.
And a third of those vendors, kudos to him for tracking this, are under 15 million of revenue. So this is an expanding space. Google are here, Microsoft are here, AWS are here, NetApp are here, Oracle are here, IBM are here. And that's why I came. This is now the third year of this event. the certified community has grown from 11,000 people certified last year to 22,000 people certified this year. So this community is really starting to dig in. They're really starting to sort of codify what FinOps actually means and what you need to measure. And probably the biggest community announcement is what's called focus. So in the same way that OTel in the observability space has standardized what you collect and how you collect it, the FinOps community is doing the same. So previously, this was go get information, everybody would collect it in a different way. Then a FinOps practitioner had to kind of do data management to kind of get everything to line up before then they could do any analysis. The Focus 1.0 spec is really a community effort that crucially AWS, Google, and Microsoft have all signed up to now. That all the way you collect financial information from those clouds and other places is all going to be standardized. Really early doors with this, but I think it's going to be crucial as a foundational layer for those vendors to be able to then add value higher up in the stack and not be sort of focused on how they collect data and manipulate that base level data. So that kudos to the community. That's hard work to get 80 different vendors and various different cloud providers to all just agree. So that's what communities are really good at. So that's the first piece. So kudos to JR Stormont, who kind of leads that leads the community here and kicked off with the keynote yesterday. Then you get into where the likes of, I spent some time with Google yesterday, Sarah McMullen, who leads FinOps for them. Really fascinating to understand how they're bringing Gemini to the portfolio. I'm able to talk about it because while we're recording before the embargo, this will publish after the embargo, so I'll be able to talk about it, and I'm writing a research note on it later today. This is bringing Gemini to the FinOps portfolio. And I think this is indicative where I see Google being able to innovate with its services. Where some of the other cloud providers have got sort of third-party relationships with their AI providers, Amazon's doing a great job of bring your own LLM. Microsoft have got the relationship with OpenAI. Google have got a really tight integration. So Gemini just coming to the FinOps piece, being able to sort of analyze and provide and interact in a natural language. I see that as a really tight integration that's going to give them a competitive position. I got to dig into the press release; they haven't sent it me yet. So we had a really good discussion, Sarah and I, yesterday. But I need to get into the specifics more of what they've announced. But I think what I took away was the work that the Google team's been doing around focus and their commitment to focus, but also what they're doing to natively and sort of intrinsically embed AI into their tools. And I think you're going to see this. We were talking about how Gemini is embedded in Gmail, and you're just going to see this embedding of AI in Google services and their portfolio at probably a deeper level of integration than you're going to see in other cloud platforms. So I think that's what I took away. Huge roadmap for Google. So they're really investing in this space, and I think that's good for clients because the other key takeaway from the conference is, this space is maturing. The practitioner, what is FinOps, was really great presentations by Disney and Uber in the keynote about what they've been doing. So this practice, I think, has now matured within the enterprise, and it's kind of well understood. So the sort of key takeaway was they're not having to explain what FinOps is anymore, about how you deploy it. So, I mean, just directionally, really sort of fascinated to see where this community is going.
Absolutely.
I'm glad to be my final conference before I can get to go home and spend some time at home.
Yes.
I'm going to drag myself to the end of the week, and then I'm flying home this afternoon.
Good. I know this whole month has been crazy for the conferences. So, hopefully everybody can get some some time back at home over the next few weeks to really start getting.
What are we going to talk about next week? What, there's no events
Figure it
next
out.
week.
We'll talk about one of the trends that we're seeing.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Do a look back on the on all the events and everything. So
Great.
perfect. All right. Well, Camberley, Stephen, thank you so much as always. Stephen, safe travels back this afternoon. And thank you to our audience, everyone, for joining. Again, this has been Infrastructure Matters. Please make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Make sure to leave us some comments for any feedback, any topics you'd like to see us cover over the next several weeks. We'd love to hear from you. And with that, we will see you on the next episode.